We're hearing that House Democrats may release their budget proposal this week. What are you looking for in this first stab at the budget?
Well, I think the very first thing that I just want to remind folks back home is that we have $3 billion extra. That's $3 billion more than we had 2 years ago. That amounts to about an 8 to 9% increase. So the first thing I'm looking at is that we do that budget within the revenue that the taxpayers have given us. Not many families have had an 8% increase, and so I think the biggest thing is do it within existing revenue, really prioritize, get down to what's the most important thing with that first dollar, and then work our way down from there. So if you think about prioritizing education, absolutely first. We want to protect our vulnerable citizens. We want to do the things that we need to do in healthcare and in law enforcement, those things that really protect our communities and protect our families. From there, I've really got to ask, are they really high enough priorities if we have to search for new revenue to pay for them? I think at the end of the day, what I want to see is if you're going to have a budget that in fact does increase spending, then you also need to look at where the revenue's coming from. And we ought to have those two things heard at the same time. So it's not looking at a budget without revenue, it's actually looking at what that revenue is going to pay for. I think people expect that. I think that's the transparent way to go forward. So we will see. I think that we can come to a budget agreement that does so within existing resources. Are the decisions hard? Absolutely. People who come here and testify or advocate, everybody's really good at what they do. They make everything sound really important, everything sound like we absolutely should do it this year. Our job is to try and figure out where that balance really is. And again, it's not to say that things that people advocate for aren't important, but is it to the point where we need to raise taxes to pay for it? So again, we have $3 billion extra dollars this biennium. That's an 8 to 9% increase. We have caseloads we're meeting. We have all of these things that we look at, including our responsibilities to McCleary. And I think, frankly, we ought to do it within existing revenue.
With this session about 2/3 of the way through, is there enough time to negotiate a budget and still get done by April 26th, the last day of the 105-day session?
Well, we're advocating for that. I think we need to absolutely make that our benchmark. We have 105 days. Again, decisions aren't easy. There are a lot of discussions going on, a lot of moving pieces and parts, but I think at the end of the day, we need to do that, and I think we still can. It'll be interesting to see what is actually looked at in the Appropriations Committee this weekend. We'll get at least a first look at what those numbers look like, but I want to remind listeners, and it's one thing I had to learn, state government, any agency is designed to grow, not to retract. And so anytime you look at a base budget, they automatically want to increase that base budget. So our challenge is saying, okay, do you really need that? And should we just continue to fund you at the existing level? And so our job, a lot of folks tell me, gosh, we're so frustrated. You continue to, fight to reduce state spending. Well, the reason is because state government usually grows, not recedes. So we're kind of bumping up against that brick wall, if you will. And so I'm excited to be able to say, hey, what do those priorities need to look like? Maybe a certain agency does need an increase and others don't. And so that's where you try to find the balance.
How has the involvement of residents from the 7th District been this session?
Oh, it's been phenomenal. It always is. I love representing the 7th. We had one of the single largest teletown halls that we've ever had, 7,500 people on, 1,200 people on the line for the entire hour. It was really awesome, but I just always want to encourage people to participate, whether you can come in person and testify, come see us, write an email, make a phone call. That is what makes our government successful and really of the people, by the people, and for the people, is having everybody at home participate. So we encourage that.